Guys, let's get right into this Italian citizenship update and why this has been taking so fucking long.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her.
This is going to be especially important if you're trying to obtain vital records from the state of New York. So I had to obtain vital records from New York and New Jersey. I ran into a big problem with New York. I got the records from New Jersey pretty much right away. It didn't take long. The state of New York, I requested these records, I believe, early in the year in 2023, and there was a whole backlog problem with the Department of Health not getting vital records to anybody. It was just a problem. Literally, people were giving birth and unable to get the birth certificate for their newly born child. It was totally nuts, of course. So 6 months goes by, I'm like pulling my hair out. By the 7th month, I'd had it. So this is what I did. There's always a way around it. There's always some kind of loophole. There's always a way, okay? Where there's a will, there's a way. And my will is very strong. So I decided to call the actual, this works for the boroughs too, okay? If you're trying to obtain vital records, I also had to go to one of the 5 boroughs to get vital records for one of my grandparents. This is what you have to do. You have to go to the actual town or village or city or whatever that they were actually born in and request it from the town. From there, you have to go to the county and have the county give it a seal of authenticity, pretty much. Once you have that, if you have a lawyer, you send it to your lawyer and they should be able to send it to the U.S. Department of State for the apostille that you need. Otherwise, you're on your own. You're going to have to send it to the U.S. Department of State yourself. Once you've done all that, you're done, basically. So I know this sounds like a lot of extra steps, and it kind of is, but that's certainly better than waiting. I mean, I waited over a year for one document. I was furious. Even though I had found a way around it and I already obtained it this other way that I'm talking about on a local level, when it finally did come in, like well over a year later, I was pissed. It is what it is. What are you going to do? Some important things you definitely need to know when requesting these documents on a local level. Because I'm not sure if there still is a backlog for New York State vital records. I can only assume that there probably is. I tried to look up online if there still is. I couldn't find any information. So let's just say there probably still is. And let me just tell you what you're going to need to do. If you are requesting a birth record for yourself or a family member, you want to make sure that you request it in long form because this record is for international purposes and it absolutely has to be in long form. That's all you need to make sure that you tell them when you request it, and yes, it absolutely has to be, because otherwise you're just going to get a regular copy of the birth certificate, and that's not going to help you. You're going to end up having to request it again. Now, I do believe in the boroughs, they already send it in long form. I would just note that just to be sure when you're requesting it, because you don't want to have to request it. You know, you send a request in the mail, you wait for it to come back to you, and then it's like, oh, you have to do this again. It's not fun. Don't do it. The next thing you have to do once you receive that long form birth certificate, if that's what you're looking for, you might be also looking for marriage or death records in this situation. But if it's a birth certificate, you're going to take that and then send it to the county because they have to certify the authenticity of the record. Yes, I know. So you have to get the birth certificate in long form from the town, the actual town or village or whatever that you were born in. And then you have to receive that and then send it back out to the county so that they can certify the authenticity of the document. Once you have that with that authenticity, then you're going to send it to the U.S. Department of State for an apostille. And then you get it back or your lawyer gets it back. So at that point, you're done. And I know that this sounds like a lot, like I said, and it kind of is. It's a bunch of extra steps, but that's certainly better than waiting a year for documents you can get and have them out to your lawyer or ready to bring to the comune or the Italian government, however you're doing this, within a matter of a couple of weeks as opposed to over a year. Because if I had waited on those documents, let me tell you something. For me, my lawyer was able to obtain all the documents in Italy that needed to be obtained. So one side was from Calabria and one side was from Potenza, obviously both in southern Italy. So I'm not sure. They were originally saying that the court date would be held in the court in Salerno, but I'm not sure if that's going to change now, finding that those records were in Potenza and it might go through that court system. That's something I would have to ask. I'm kind of just more focused on making sure they have everything they need from my end so that we can just get a court date at this point. I did have an issue obtaining paternity records. And yes, you you do have to prove your paternity. It is what it is. You just have to do it. Basically, the court system in upstate New York lost records, didn't know what to tell us. So I'm kind of dealing with that, and that is the last part of what they need from me before I can just go ahead and get a court date. So I'm waiting for those records. That's pretty much it. Then I'll just be waiting on a court date. That's where I'm at with that. I'm really hoping that it won't take very long to get a court date, and I'll keep you guys updated.